Ladies and gentlemen, something is happening. A moment is passing. A line is being drawn in the unseen realm. And August 1st was not just another date on the calendar. It was a gate, a turning, a trumpet that most did not hear. But those who are chosen, those who are awake, who have not bowed the knee to the idols of the age, they felt it. Something shifted. From this moment forward, everything will accelerate. The shaking will grow more intense. That which could be ignored will now rise to the surface. But for the chosen, not the popular, not the proud, not the perfect, for the chosen, for those sealed by the hand of the Almighty, this is not the time to fear. This is the time to rise. After the first day of August, the heavens mark a separation, a dividing of light and dark, of wheat and chaff. It is no longer a season of blending. It is the season of clarity. The veil is thinning, and what was hidden shall be exposed in the world and in the heart. For the chosen, it will begin with pressure. The world will not understand them. Systems will begin to turn cold. The familiar will feel foreign. But this pressure is not punishment. It is preparation. For the fire that comes to destroy the wicked is the same fire that refines the pure. Doors will close, and then doors will open, not doors built by man, not platforms built by popularity, but ancient paths marked by divine purpose will appear. The chosen will walk through storms, but they will not be shaken. They will walk through chaos, but they will carry peace. Watch for the sudden. What took years will happen in weeks. What was delayed will be released. But also what was hidden in secret rebellion will be judged openly. God is not mocked. And for the chosen, there is a call. Do not flirt with compromise, not now. The hour is too late. The battle is too close. You were not chosen for comfort. You were not chosen for applause. You were chosen for consecration, for courage, for covenant. And now the covenant will speak not with thunder from Sinai, but with power in your life, authority in your steps, and boldness in your voice. From this day forward, do not measure your life by the standard of the world. Measure it by the assignment of heaven. You will not be spared from the shaking, but you will be sustained in it. Provision will come in unexpected ways. Words will be given at the appointed time. Battles will be fought on your behalf before you even speak. The world will say, why are they not broken? And the answer will be, because they were already broken before the throne. The world will say, why do they shine? And the answer will be, because they walk with the flame. After August 1st, the days will not grow easier, but the chosen will grow stronger. Not by might, not by power, but by the Spirit of the living God. Let the world tremble. Let kingdoms fall. Let the systems of man collapse. But the chosen, they will endure. They will overcome. They will shine like stars in the midnight hour. And they will know this is the time they were born for. August 1st was not just another date on the calendar. To most, it passed unnoticed. Just another sunrise, just another day. But in the realm that matters most, in the invisible world, where God moves and decrees are spoken into existence, something shifted. A gate opened. A divine clock struck a prophetic hour. There was a trembling in the spirit, a whisper in the hearts of those who are chosen, not because they are better, but because they have been marked by heaven for a purpose beyond comfort. The world measures time by the ticking of seconds, by months, by economic quarters, and election cycles. But heaven measures time by purpose, by fulfillment, and by divine alignment. And August 1st was such a moment, a convergence, a divine intersection where time touched eternity. From that moment, a spiritual current was released. It was subtle to the natural eye, but loud in the spirit. The atmosphere changed. And those who are sensitive to the voice of the Lord felt it. Some didn't know how to describe it. A stirring, an uneasiness, an urgency. It was not fear, but awakening. It was as if God was saying, prepare. The season has shifted. Heaven's calendar does not operate on man's permission. When God moves, he does not wait for earthly confirmation. The chosen, those set apart, those in covenant, those walking in obedience, were not caught off guard. They may not have known the details, but their spirits were aligned. There had been a stirring for weeks, for months, pointing toward a moment when things would begin to change more rapidly. August 1st was that mark. From that day forward, everything began to accelerate. Patterns that once moved slowly began to gain speed. Systems that appeared stable began to tremble. The world's foundation, political, economic, even religious, began to reveal its cracks. But this is not chaos, it is correction. It is not the end of order, it is the beginning of divine alignment. What looked like breakdown is actually preparation for breakthrough, but only for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. For the chosen, August 1st was not a threat, it was a signal. It was a trumpet call in the Spirit. It was the kind of moment that prophets feel in their bones, that watchmen sense from their towers. The heavens were declaring the shaking has begun, not to destroy, but to reveal, not to punish, but to purify. Those walking in hidden rebellion may have continued as though nothing changed, but for the remnant, for the surrendered, for the praying, for the faithful, the sense of divine urgency grew louder. This moment was not born from political shifts or natural disasters. It was born from divine timing. It was the echo of the Lord's voice saying, "Enough delay. The hour is late. The time is now." After August 1st, what was tolerated will no longer be covered. What was delayed will begin to manifest. And what was once distant will draw near. The chosen are not immune to the shaking, but they are not defined by it. They are refined through it. And that refining began in a deeper way after August 1st. The call is no longer to survive the season, but to be activated in it. The chosen are being stirred to action, not by emotion, not by impulse, but by the Spirit of the living God. There is now a divine quickening, a rising of warriors, intercessors, and voices who were hidden until the appointed time. And now that time has come. In the natural, nothing may look different. But in the Spirit, everything has shifted, and those who walk by the Spirit can feel the urgency. A heavenly line has been crossed. From August 1st onward, the pace of heaven is increasing. The chosen must walk in step with it, not lagging behind in fear, not racing ahead in presumption, but in alignment, step by step, breath by breath, obedient to the whisper of the Lord. What happened on August 1st cannot be measured by news headlines or weather reports. It was a spiritual alignment, a divine release, a sign for those with eyes to see. And for the chosen, it was the beginning of something greater, not easier, but greater. Something has begun. The gate has opened. And there is no turning back. A line is now being drawn, not by man, not by institution, but by the hand of God Himself. After the spiritual shift that occurred on August 1st, we have entered a time where the gray areas are vanishing. What was once allowed to hide in ambiguity will now be exposed to the light. It is no longer a season where good and evil blend comfortably in the same space, where compromise is masked as wisdom and where lukewarmness is passed off as balance. Now comes clarity. Now comes separation. The Spirit of God is making a distinction, not just between the righteous and the wicked, but between those who are fully His and those who merely claim His name. This is a hard word for a soft generation, but it is a necessary one. The days of convenient Christianity are ending. The season of cultural faith, where people align with Christ when it costs them nothing, is being exposed. The chosen cannot afford to stay in the middle anymore. They are being summoned to the edge, to the altar, to the fire. This separation is not one of denomination or outward appearance. It is not about who speaks the loudest or who appears the most spiritual. It is an internal dividing. God is distinguishing between those who carry His presence and those who only carry a form of religion, between those who obey even when it costs and those who perform only when it benefits. The shaking that has begun will reveal what foundations are made of: wood, hay, and stubble, or gold refined by fire. Many have walked for too long in a place of blending, holding the hand of God with one hand and the hand of the world with the other. But now, the fire will force a choice. The pressure will squeeze out what's hidden. You cannot cling to two altars anymore. You cannot worship at the temple of self and still carry the name of Jesus with power. He is separating light from darkness, devotion from performance, obedience from convenience. This is a holy hour, not a popular one. It is a time when the spotlight will begin to fall not on the platformed, but on the consecrated. And those who have waited in secret, prayed in silence, remained faithful in the quiet place. They will begin to rise. Not to fame, but to assignment. They will not be known for applause, but for authority. The oil they carry was purchased through crushing. And now, that oil will distinguish them in a dry and thirsty land. The spirit of compromise will grow more obvious in the coming days. What once looked like unity will now be exposed as mixture. What was tolerated under the guise of love will now reveal itself as decay. God is not angry. He is holy. And his love is not weakness, it is consuming fire. The chosen are those who welcome the fire, who embrace the refining, who would rather be hated for the truth than accepted in deception. There is no hiding in this new season. The lines are becoming bold. What was whispered in secret will be shouted from the rooftops. The fear of man will no longer be enough to keep people in the middle, because the middle ground is collapsing. Decisions will be required. Allegiances will be tested, not just by words, but by choices, by sacrifices, by how we live when no one is watching. The Spirit is bringing divine clarity, not to confuse, but to awaken, not to shame, but to prepare. God is making clear who is standing with him. Not everyone who says, Lord, Lord, is walking in obedience. And not everyone who is unnoticed by the world is unknown to heaven. The separation is not meant to isolate, but to consecrate. It is the threshing floor where the wheat is separated from the chaff, not to destroy, but to gather what is pure for his glory. The chosen will feel this pull, a holy discomfort, a stirring deep within that says, I can't live the way I used to. It is the Spirit calling them deeper, calling them away from surface level devotion and into costly surrender. Those who respond will find that while the road is narrow, it is filled with fire and glory. They will carry a clarity that cuts through confusion, a purity that exposes deception, and a boldness that doesn't bow. This is no longer the hour for compromise. The trumpet has sounded in the Spirit. Haven is separating, and the chosen must be ready to stand, to speak, and to live as those who are unmistakably his. For the chosen, what is coming is not punishment. It is pressure, and that pressure is holy. It is not designed to crush, but to refine. It is not sent to destroy, but to awaken what has been dormant. The pressure will come in waves, through relationships, through circumstances, through systems that once felt secure, and it will reveal where the heart truly stands. This is not wrath. This is preparation. A loving God is making his people ready, not for escape, but for endurance, for clarity, for authority. The chosen are not exempt from hardship. In fact, they will feel it more deeply, because they are not called to hide from the fire, they are called to walk through it. Just as gold is purified by heat, so must the people of God be shaped by pressure. This pressure will expose what is built on sand and what is founded on the rock. It will shake the things that can be shaken so that what cannot be shaken may remain. And for the chosen, what remains is faith that has been tested and proven. Many are praying for comfort, for ease, for favor without cost. But heaven is not responding with ease, it is responding with alignment. God is more interested in making his people holy than happy. He is more concerned with forming Christ within than granting earthly success. And so, he allows pressure not as a cruel taskmaster, but as a loving father. Because it is through pressure that strength is forged, vision is sharpened, and obedience is solidified. The pressure will manifest in different ways. For some, it will be the rejection of people they once leaned on. For others, it will be doors closing that seemed guaranteed. The familiar will become foreign. Places that once felt comfortable will begin to feel restrictive. This is not a sign of failure. It is a signal of transition. God is moving his chosen out of places of complacency and into spaces of purpose. But between the promise and the fulfillment lies the process. And that process is marked by pressure. There will be moments of wrestling. Just like Jacob wrestled with the angel, the chosen will wrestle not to earn a blessing, but to be changed by one. And in the midst of that wrestling, identity will shift. The old name will be stripped, and the new name will be sealed. The pressure is forming a people who are not just aware of God's promises, but are trustworthy enough to carry them. In this season, favor will not always look like comfort. Sometimes favor will look like fire. The furnace that refined Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego didn't destroy them. It revealed the presence of the fourth man. And so it will be now. The chosen will walk through pressure, but they will not be alone. They will emerge without the smell of smoke, but with the mark of glory. Their lives will testify not to human strength, but to divine sustenance. This pressure will also separate those who are merely inspired from those who are truly surrendered. Inspiration fades when difficulty rises, but surrender grows deeper when tested. The chosen are being invited into deeper surrender. The kind that says, even if he doesn't deliver me, still I will not bow. That level of surrender cannot be learned in safety. It is forged in the pressure of decision, of loyalty, of obedience when it costs something. Even now, the chosen may feel it. That holy tension, that quiet discomfort. It is the hand of God pressing gently but firmly, calling them higher, not in pride, but in purpose. He is placing a demand on their spirit, drawing them out of old cycles, lifting them above old patterns. And though it may feel like breaking, it is actually building. What feels like crushing is the making of the vessel that will carry his presence. The pressure will not destroy the chosen. It will define them. It will reveal their roots. It will expose their foundation. And if their foundation is Christ, they will not be shaken. They will not only survive the pressure, they will shine through it. They will emerge with authority, with clarity, and with a testimony that says, we have been through the fire, and he was faithful. This is not punishment. This is preparation. And for the chosen, it is a sign not that God is distant, but that he is near, nearer than ever, refining his own with the pressure that produces purity, power, and purpose. After August 1st, a divine acceleration was set in motion. Heaven issued a decree, and the pace of spiritual events began to shift. What once took years will now unfold in months. What felt delayed, hindered, or buried under layers of resistance is suddenly finding release. The chosen, those who have been walking in obedience, even in obscurity, are about to experience a sudden shift. This is the season of divine suddenly, not driven by man's schedule, but by God's sovereign timeline. Acceleration does not mean chaos. It means divine order being established faster than expected. For those who have been waiting, praying, and standing on the edge of promises, the delay was never denial, it was preparation. But now the window has opened. The wind of the Spirit is blowing, and things that were stuck are now being supernaturally set in motion. Long forgotten words from the Lord will begin to stir again. Prophetic promises that once felt distant are being called into the present, not by the manipulation of man, but by the hand of God. But in this same acceleration, there will be exposure. God is not just moving quickly to bless. He is also moving quickly to cleanse. What was hidden in the shadows, tolerated in silence, or cloaked in religious language will be exposed in the light. It is a dual move, the exaltation of the humble and the revealing of the prideful. Not to shame, but to bring truth. Not to destroy, but to give a final invitation to repentance. This is the season where the inside must match the outside, where private obedience matters more than public platform. For the chosen, this acceleration will not always feel easy. It will demand readiness, flexibility, and complete dependence on the voice of the Lord. Plans may shift overnight. Directions may change in a moment. The door that opens may not be the one expected, but it will be the one anointed. And those who are walking closely with the Spirit will find themselves in rooms they never applied for, standing in places they never imagined, and speaking words they didn't prepare, because heaven will orchestrate divine appointments that no man can stop. This is a time of divine reversals. The last will be first. The unseen will be revealed. The overlooked will be elevated, but not for applause, for assignment. God is not raising up entertainers or influencers. He is raising up intercessors, carriers of his glory, voices of righteousness in a darkening age. This is not about visibility. It is about responsibility. And acceleration will come only to those who are ready to carry the weight of the assignment with humility. In the same breath, there will be a removal of distractions. Things that once seemed necessary will suddenly fall away. Relationships, positions, patterns of living that do not align with God's pace will be left behind. The chosen must be willing to travel light. Acceleration requires shedding the unnecessary. And though it may feel like loss, it is divine pruning. God is not taking to punish. He is removing to prepare. Every branch that bears fruit must be pruned to bear more. And in this season, fruitfulness will not come through striving, but through surrender. This acceleration is also strategic. God is redeeming time. What was lost through delays, through disobedience, through detours, he is restoring. For some, this means years of stagnation will be made up in a matter of weeks. For others, it means opportunities that once passed them by will return, but with greater purpose. This is not about repeating the past. It is about redeeming it. And only God can do that at the speed he is now moving. But the acceleration will be uncomfortable for those who try to hold on to the old season. Familiarity will not be a safe place. The pace of God will expose comfort zones. Those who try to move at yesterday's speed will miss what is being poured out today. There is a divine urgency that cannot be ignored. The cloud is moving, and those who linger too long will find themselves misaligned. This is a call to move with the cloud, even if it means leaving behind what once worked. God is accelerating his plans not because he is in a hurry, but because the time is short, the hour is late, and the chosen must be in position, fully awake, fully surrendered, fully available. This is not just a moment of fulfillment. It is a moment of alignment. Acceleration is here, and those who walk with God will see the suddenlies, the breakthroughs, the reversals, not as surprises, but as confirmations that heaven has moved, and those who are ready will move with it. In this new season, the call on the chosen is not to be impressive, but to be consecrated. The world is celebrating popularity, performance, and platform, but heaven is looking for purity. The days of blending in and playing both sides are over. The hour is too late for compromise. God is drawing his people into a deeper walk, a higher standard, a life of holy separation. This isn't about legalism or rules. It's about relationship and reverence. It's about walking so closely with the Lord that his heartbeat becomes the rhythm of your steps. The chosen are being called to live set apart. Not perfect, but surrendered. Not flawless, but faithful. The world may not notice them, but heaven does. These are the ones who say yes when no one is watching. These are the ones who turn down the invitation to be celebrated by men because they are already approved by God. This kind of consecration doesn't happen by accident. It happens through choice, through consistency, through costly obedience. And in this season, those choices will matter more than ever. The pressure of this hour is exposing the cost of compromise. What once felt harmless now feels heavy. The Spirit of God is turning up the light in the inner places. It's no longer just about public sins. It's about private motives. The whisper of the Spirit is calling the chosen to examine every part of their lives, not out of fear, but out of a longing to be pure vessels. This is a time to clean the altar, to let go of what clutters the heart, to refuse to carry into the next move of God what cannot withstand his fire. The chosen cannot walk like the world and expect to carry the weight of God's presence. There is a price to the oil, and in this hour, that price is consecration. This is not about rules, it's about readiness. The enemy is subtle in his distractions. Not everything that hinders is evil. Some things are simply unnecessary. And those unnecessary things will begin to feel heavier. They will slow the pace. They will dull the edge. But for the chosen, the Spirit is bringing clarity. Lay it down, he says. Let it go. Not because it's sinful, but because it's not worthy of where you're going. This season is requiring a level of focus and discipline the chosen have not known before, and it may feel lonely. Not everyone will understand. Some will mock the seriousness, the intensity, the passion. But consecration is not for show, it is for alignment. It is for readiness. The chosen must be willing to walk differently, to talk differently, to prioritize differently. Their time, their relationships, their decisions must be governed by the Spirit, not by the crowd. There is a fresh grace being poured out to live holy, not in human strength, but by the power of the Spirit. This isn't about striving, it's about yielding. As the chosen draw closer to God, His holiness begins to shape them. Conviction increases not because of condemnation, but because of love. He disciplines those He loves. He calls them higher because He desires to trust them with more. And more is coming, more glory, more responsibility, more opposition. Only the consecrated will be able to stand under the weight of what's ahead. The fruit of consecration will not always be visible at first. It may look like silence, like hiddenness, like doors not opening. But don't mistake that for delay. God hides what He values. And when the moment comes, He reveals it with power. In this season, God is not looking for performers. He's looking for carriers. Carriers of His Spirit, His fire, His truth. And only those who have been purified in secret will be able to carry that in public without being consumed by it. The time for casual Christianity is over. The season for diluted devotion has passed. The chosen are being summoned into covenant, deep covenant, the kind that says, I belong to Him, fully, forever, without conditions. And in that place of surrender, there is fire, there is power, there is intimacy that cannot be bought or faked. That's where the chosen are being led, not into religion, but into holy union. This level of consecration will cost something: reputation, opportunities, comfort, but it will give back far more: peace, authority, oil, and most importantly, the nearness of God. That is the reward of the chosen, not ease, but intimacy, not applause, but anointing. In this new season, consecration is not optional. It is the only way forward. And those who embrace it will find themselves walking in a fire that doesn't consume, but empowers. In the days ahead, as the shaking increases and the systems of this world begin to crack under pressure, the chosen will not be abandoned. They will be sustained. They will be empowered, not by the strength of their own will, not by the approval of man, and not by the provisions of earthly sources, but by the Spirit of the living God. This is not a time for panic. It is a time for positioning. The chosen are being positioned under the shelter of divine protection, where human resources fail, but heaven never does. While the world scrambles for answers, the chosen will walk in unexplainable peace, not because their circumstances are easier, but because their source is different. They are not anchored in the economy, politics, or popularity. They are anchored in the presence. And in the presence, there is provision. In the presence, there is direction. In the presence, there is supernatural calm, even in the midst of chaos. This is not poetic. It is prophetic. The Spirit of God is clothing His people with resilience that the world cannot replicate. Provision will come, but not always in familiar ways. It may not be in the form the chosen expected, but it will be exactly what they need. Just as God fed Elijah by ravens and sustained the widow through a jar of oil that never ran dry, so He will provide again. The provision will be miraculous, not flashy, but undeniable. And the chosen will know it did not come by their own hand. It will remind them daily, this is my doing, says the Lord. I am your source. But this divine sustaining is not just about needs being met. It's about being empowered to fulfill assignment. The chosen are not being preserved for survival. They are being empowered for impact. This is not a bunker season, it's a battlefield season. God is not hiding his people away to avoid conflict. He is strengthening them so they can walk through it with fire in their bones and power in their words. What they carry is not meant to be buried. It's meant to be released. The Spirit will give boldness where there was once fear. Words will come in moments of confrontation. Wisdom will be given in situations that once confused. Strategies will be dropped into hearts in the middle of the night. The chosen will not be operating by human logic, but by supernatural insight. This is what sets them apart, not better behavior, but Spirit-filled discernment. While others hesitate, they will move. While others retreat, they will advance. There will be battles. Not every moment will feel triumphant, but the chosen will not be fighting alone. Heaven is backing them. Angels are assigned to them, and the authority of Christ is upon them. This is not imagination, it is inheritance. The chosen are not being sent out to survive. They are being sent to conquer territory, to tear down strongholds, to shift atmospheres. But only those who know they are sustained by God can step into such assignments without fear. Even in physical weariness, the chosen will find supernatural strength. They will rise in the morning not because they are rested, but because they are restored. This is the work of the Spirit, refreshing from the inside out. As the external world grows darker and more unstable, the inner world of the chosen will become more stable, more vibrant, more full of light. It will confuse those around them. The world will ask, why are they not falling apart? Why are they still standing? And the answer will not be in eloquent words, but in the quiet power of their lives. They are sustained. In this season, fear will try to knock on every door, but the chosen will not open it, because fear has no room in a house where faith lives. And their faith is not generic. It is rooted in a God who has never failed. Every past victory will become fuel for future endurance. They will remember how he brought them through before. They will remind their souls of his faithfulness. And in doing so, they will silence every lie of the enemy. There will be noise, confusion, and opposition, but it will not drown out the voice of God. For the chosen, his voice will become clearer, his guidance more specific. The Spirit will whisper directions, give confirmations, and stir up courage when they need it most. They will not be guessing their way forward, they will be led. The chosen will endure not because of who they are, but because of who their God is. Their strength will not come from the outside, but from within, where the Holy Spirit dwells in fullness. And from that deep well of divine strength, they will rise, they will walk, they will speak, and they will overcome.